The Highway Haven Diner's bell jingled as Sally faced a choice: help a desperate stranger or save her job. One act of kindness sparked a storm that could change everything or cost her all she loved. The old wooden door of the Highway Haven Diner creaked open its rusty hinges, singing a familiar tune to anyone who'd ever passed through this stretch of Nebraska dust. The bell above jingled sharp and bright, cutting through the low hum of voices inside. The air carried the sizzle of bacon on the griddle, the faint clink of coffee mugs meeting formica tables, and the warm, buttery scent of Martha's apple pie cooling on the counter. Out on the highway, a semi roared past its engine, growling like a beast, headed somewhere far and lonely. Inside, though the diner was alive a heartbeat, on this endless ribbon of asphalt, Sally Delgado moved through the chaos with the grace of someone who'd been slinging plates for years, even though she was only 28. Her dark hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and her smile lit up the room like a neon sign at dusk. She balanced a coffee pot in one hand and a stack of menus in the other, weaving between tables packed with truckers, locals, and the occasional family passing through. To Sally, every face had a name. Every name had a story. There was Joe Carter, the grizzled driver, with a laugh like gravel, always going on about his dog Rusty. Aisha Malik, the young firecracker who dreamed of owning her own trucking company, and countless others, each one a thread in the tapestry of this place. Sally paused at Joe's table, topping off his coffee. "So, Joe, how's Rusty doing? Still chasing his tail like a pup?" she asked, her voice warm, tinged with the faintest hint of her Hispanic roots. Joe chuckled, his weathered hands cradling the mug. "That dog's gonna outlive me, Sally. Swear he's got more energy than I ever did. Got a new trick, too. Rolls over when I wave a biscuit." Sally grinned. "You gotta bring him by sometime. I'll sneak him a piece of bacon." She winked, already moving to the next table, where Aisha was scribbling notes on a napkin. "What's this, Aisha?" "You writing the next great American novel," Sally teased. Aisha looked up, her eyes bright. "Nah, just a business plan. Gotta figure out how to get my own rig one day. Tired of driving for someone else." "You'll get there," Sally said, resting a hand on Aisha's shoulder. "And when you do, this place'll be your first stop, right?" Aisha laughed. "You know it, long as you keep the coffee strong." Behind the counter, Earl Thompson watched it all unfold. At 70, he carried the weight of 4 decades in this diner, his hands calloused from years of flipping burgers and building this place, from a roadside pie stand, into a haven for weary souls. His faded denim shirt was rolled up at the sleeves, and his eyes, though kind, held a shadow of worry these days. The diner wasn't what it used to be. Chains like Burger Barn were popping up down the highway, and the bills were stacking higher than Martha's pancakes. Earl cleared his throat, stepping out from behind the counter. "All right, folks, gather round. Got something to say." The staff, Sally, Martha, and a couple of part-time waitresses huddled near the cash register, while a few curious truckers looked on. Earl's voice was steady, like an old country song. "Y'all know I've poured my heart into this place. Built it from nothing, and it's been my home as much as yours. But time's catching up with me, and my doc says I gotta slow down. So as of next week, I'm stepping back. My nephew Ryan will be taking over." A murmur rippled through the group. Sally's stomach tightened. She'd heard about Ryan, some hotshot fresh from business school in Chicago. Earl raised a hand, quieting the chatter. "Now I'll still be around, offering advice, drinking too much coffee. But Ryan's got big plans, and I trust him to keep this place running smooth." Sally forced a smile, but inside she wasn't so sure. The Highway Haven wasn't just a diner. It was a lifeline, a place where people like her grandpa, a trucker who'd passed 5 years back, found a moment of peace on the road. She remembered the stories he'd tell, how a kind word from a waitress once led him to a doc who caught his heart trouble early. That's why Sally listened, why she cared. Every customer carried a story, and sometimes a story could save a life. The next week, Ryan Thompson strode into the diner like he owned the place, which technically he now did. 30 tall and polished, he wore a crisp button-down and carried a tablet like it was glued to his hand. His city accent cut through the drawl of the regulars, and his eyes scanned the room, not for faces, but for inefficiencies. Within days, he'd swapped out the old order pads for touchscreen tablets, hung a sign that read, "Serve fast, keep 'em happy," and started timing how long it took to turn tables. Sally tried to keep up, but it felt wrong. The tablets beeped like impatient robots, and Ryan's voice was always in her ear. "Sally, table 6 has been waiting 3 minutes for their check. Let's move." Or Sally, less chit-chat, more hustle. The regulars noticed too. Joe's stories got cut short. Aisha's napkin sketches went uncommented on. The diner was faster, sure, but it was colder, like someone had turned off the heat. One morning, Ryan called Sally into the office, a cramped room stacked with invoices and old photos. He didn't look up from his tablet. "Sally, I've been running the numbers. Your service times are the slowest on staff. You're spending too much time talking to customers. I told you to cut that out." Sally shifted her sneakers, squeaking on the linoleum. "Ryan, these folks aren't just customers. They're out there driving 18 hours straight. Sometimes they need someone to listen. You know, like Joe's dog died last month, and Ryan cut her off, his voice sharp. I don't care about Joe's dog, Sally. This is a business, not a therapy session. You've got 1 week to shape up, or you're out." "Understood." Sally knotted her throat tight. "Yes, sir." She left the office, her chest heavy. She thought of her grandpa, how he'd always said the road was lonely, but places like this made it bearable. Was she wrong to care? Was it really just about the bottom line? The days blurred into a grind. The diner's warmth faded, replaced by the sterile hum of efficiency. Joe stopped coming, as often muttering about the place losing its soul. Aisha still showed up, but her smiles were tighter. Even Martha, the diner's heart and soul in the kitchen, grumbled about Ryan's new portion controls. Sally kept her head down, but she couldn't stop listening. When Aisha talked about her business plan, Sally offered tips. When Joe mentioned his arthritis flaring up, she slipped him an extra napkin with the name of a good doc in town. It was small, but it mattered. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. The diner was slammed, every booth filled with the clatter of forks and the buzz of conversation. Sally was rushing between tables when the door jingled and an older woman stepped in her face, creased with worry. She was maybe 75, her gray hair pinned back, her hands trembling as she clutched a worn purse. She approached Sally, her voice soft, but urgent. "Excuse me, honey," she said. "I'm Clara Jenkins. I need help with one of those tire pressure gauge things. My son usually handles it, but he's on a haul to Denver, and I forgot to tell him my tires are low. I'm all turned around with this stuff." Sally glanced across the room. Ryan was at the counter, his eyes locked on her like a hawk. She felt the weight of his warning, but Clara's anxious eyes pulled harder. "Sure, ma'am. Let's get you fixed up," Sally said, leading Clara to the corner where the diner sold automotive odds and ends. As they walked, Clara kept talking, her voice wobbly. "I've been coming here forever, you know. Back when Earl's wife Rose used to serve pie herself. Such sweet folks. Is Earl still running things?" Sally's heart sank. "Not anymore, ma'am. He's retired mostly. His nephew's in charge now." Clara sighed. Shame. This place always felt like home. At the display, Clara rummaged through her purse, then froze. "Oh no," she whispered. "My wallet. I must have left it on the kitchen counter. I can't buy this today." Her eyes glistened, and Sally saw the panic set in. Sally hesitated, Ryan's words echoing in her head. But then she thought of her grandpa, how a stranger's kindness had saved him. She smiled, soft and sure. "Don't worry, Ms. Clara. This one's on the house." And I'll get one of the guys out back to check your tires before you go. Clara's face lit up, her hands clasping Sally's. Oh, honey, you're an angel. I'll tell Earl what a gem he's got working here. Sally helped Clara to a stool, poured her a coffee, and flagged down a trucker to check the tires. But before Clara even finished her cup, Ryan was there, his face like a storm cloud. Sally, my office. Now. In the office, Ryan didn't sit. He paced, his voice low and furious. I saw you give away that gauge, Sally, after I explicitly told you to stop wasting time. You think we're a charity, Sally tried to explain. She was in trouble, Ryan. She needed help. And enough, he snapped. I gave you a chance. You're done. Pack your stuff and get out. Sally stood there stunned as the words sank in. Fired. For helping someone. She wanted to argue, to scream, but the fight drained out of her. She grabbed her bag, her eyes burning, and walked out without looking back. The door's jingle felt like a goodbye. She sat in her beat-up Honda in the parking lot, staring at the diner's neon sign. Had she been wrong? Was kindness really worth losing everything? The highway stretched out before her, empty and gray, and for the first time in years, Sally felt lost. But the story wasn't over. 30 minutes later, Earl Thompson pulled into the lot, his old Ford rattling like it had a grudge against the road. He stepped into the diner, his boots heavy on the floor, and scanned the room. "Where's Sally?" he asked, his voice gruff. Ryan leaned against the counter, smug. "I let her go." "Uncle Earl, she was slowing us down, giving away product. Unprofessional." Earl's face paled. Before he could respond, a young waitress, Jenny, rushed over holding the diner's phone. "Mr. Thompson, you got a call. It's urgent. Says it's a friend of yours." Earl took the phone, his brow furrowed. "Hello." "Yeah, Rose, what's—" He stopped listening, his expression shifting from confusion to something harder. When he hung up, he turned to Ryan, his voice like steel. "That was my wife," he said. "She just got off the phone with Clara Jenkins. You know the woman Sally helped today? Clara said Sally was the kindest soul she's met in years. Reminded her of what this place used to be. And you fired her for that." Ryan shrugged. "She broke the rules, Uncle Earl." "I'm trying to make this place profitable." Earl shook his head, disappointment carved into his face. "You don't get it, son. This diner ain't just about profit. It's about people, about giving folks a place to feel human again." Sally understood that. "You don't." Ryan opened his mouth, but Earl cut him off. "I made a mistake putting you in charge. You're done here, Ryan. Go back to Chicago. This ain't your place." Ryan froze, then grabbed his tablet and stormed out the door, slamming behind him. Earl turned to Jenny. "Get Sally on the phone. Tell her to come back. Now." An hour later, Sally stepped through the door, her heart pounding. The diner was quieter now, the lunch rush gone, but every eye turned to her. Earl stood at the counter, his hands in his pockets, his face soft but serious. "Sally," he said, "I'm sorry. I should have been here. What happened to you was wrong." He paused, then squared his shoulders. "Ryan's gone. And I need someone to run this place right. Someone who knows its heart. Would you take the job?" Sally's breath caught. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them back. "Mr. Thompson, I'd be honored." The room erupted in cheers. Joe, sitting at the counter, raised his coffee mug. "That's our girl Aisha," clapped, grinning ear to ear. Even Martha poked her head out from the kitchen, nodding approval. Sally looked around, her chest swelling. This was her home, her people. She thought of her grandpa, how proud he'd be. "I won't let you down," she said, her voice thick. "Or this place." Earl smiled, clapping a hand on her shoulder. "I know you won't, kid. Now how about some of that pie on the house?" The weeks that followed felt like a homecoming. Sally tore down Ryan's Serve Fast sign and brought back the handwritten menus, their edges curling like old love letters. She pinned up a new bulletin board covered in notes from truckers' ride shares, job offers, even a poem from Joe about the road. The touchscreen tablets gathered dust in the storeroom, replaced by the clatter of order pads and the rhythm of real conversation. Sally made it her mission to know every customer. She learned their names, their roots, their stories. Aisha came back one day, beaming with news that her business plan had landed her a loan for her first truck. She handed Sally a baseball cap with her company's logo, a shiny rig stitched in gold. For the best pit stop on the highway, Aisha said, hugging her tight. Joe started showing up daily again, bringing a new puppy he'd named Sally. "She's a troublemaker just like you," he teased, while the pup yipped at Sally's feet. She laughed, sneaking the dog a bit of bacon when Joe wasn't looking. Martha's apple pie became the talk of the highway, drawing new faces from as far as Kansas City. The diner's neon sign glowed brighter somehow, a beacon for anyone needing a hot meal or a kind word. Earl was a fixture again, not in the office, but at the counter swapping stories with truckers about the old days. He'd catch Sally's eyes sometimes, nodding like he knew she was doing it right. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the highway, Gold Sally stepped outside to take it all in. She leaned against the diner's wall, the air cool against her skin. A semi rumbled by its horn, giving a friendly toot. She smiled, thinking of her grandpa. She'd hung his photo on the wall inside, right next to the others, a black and white shot of him grinning beside his old Kenworth. Below it, she'd pinned a note to the bulletin board, Highway Haven, where every story matters. Inside, the bell jingled as a new customer walked in. Sally straightened, ready to greet them. The road was long, and the world was tough. But here, in this little diner, she'd built something real. A place where people could rest, share their burdens, and find a piece of home. And that she knew was worth more than all the profit in the world.